Let's talk more about this now. Joining me now, I have Republican strategist Malik Abdul and Democratic strategist Taryn Rosenkranz. Good morning to both of you. Taryn, let me start with you. House Speaker Mike Johnson, to Brooks' reporting that she just laid out, says it would break protocol to release that House ethics report on Gates. So what's the next move, and could not releasing the report hurt President-elect Trump?
Yeah, and I just want to say, actually, that's actually the opposite of the truth. It's actually not to break protocol. It's actually been tradition that they do release these reports even after someone has resigned, especially if it's useful in a Senate confirmation hearing.
Can you give us an example of who that's happened to in the past after they've left?
Yeah, former disgraced House Speaker Tom Foley and the House page scandal. You may not remember that, or you may, but way back decades ago now at this point, there was a scandal with the House pages and some sexual allegations that were, he was having affairs of sexual assault against young underage boys. And that did come to light, and that was something that happened, and that was a report that was released. There were several of them. And there is actual bipartisan support. But I know you asked about next steps. This is interesting. One of the things that will happen with these confirmation hearings is that they can ask for an FBI background report, or background check. So it will be interesting, and we're already hearing from some of the Republican senators that that's something they may want to do. Mm-hmm. So even if the House Republican Speaker here has tried to reverse course and tried to keep this report from coming out, it may be that those allegations, anything that, the truth was going to come out anyway. I mean, it seems like whatever criminal investigations about sex trafficking and underage sex with a minor, anything that's criminal like that, an FBI background check would be able to bring those things to light. So it's not going to be able to be swept up and kept undercover. I think anything like that would be brought to light. So I think, Speaker Johnson trying to kind of keep that report in probably isn't the best look for him, because in confirmation hearings, as we know, stuff like this will still come out.
And Malik, let me bring you in now. To Taryn's point that Republicans have started to speak out. Kevin McCarthy said there's no way Gates gets confirmed as Attorney General. Have enough Republicans come out against him to doom his nomination, you think?
I believe they only need about 3 or 4. And I don't think that Matt Gaetz will ultimately get through. It looks very difficult for him at this point. I don't support the idea of a recess appointment because the Republicans have the majority at that point, so we shouldn't really need recess appointments. Matt Gaetz was always going to be a problem, but I think what Donald Trump is signaling here is that he's going to go, he needs someone strong, not just someone who supports him, but he needs someone strong, someone willing to really break up all of the wrongs at the Department of Justice. You think about all of the weaponization. You had the DOJ going after parents who were concerned about some of the literature that kids have in school. Well, the DOJ was going after that. I think what Donald Trump is signaling, that even if it's not a Matt Gaetz, and it may or may not be, that he needs someone who is willing to go into the Department of Justice and really shake things up. And I think overall, that's what his appointments have done.
Yeah, I've been wondering if some of these more provocative picks have been a litmus test, for loyalty, if you will. Taryn, some media outlets warning that President-elect Trump's picks are a shock and awe campaign that is, quote, awful. They call it trouble for Washington. But Taryn, isn't that exactly what his supporters just voted for?
It may be what his voters supported. I do think the shock and awe is something he's getting all the media attention. Everything's still on him. And so he is definitely getting that treatment. I do think the problem with the shock and awe is what's going to happen back here. He does not have as many guardrails as he did the first time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with a Republican-led House and a Republican-led Senate and a very conservative Supreme Court. He does have, sort of unlimited power in a lot of ways that are not the checks and balances that we usually have in American government. So with him sort of doing this kinds of shock and awe, he's putting a lot of fear into and sort of supporting this "I will be a dictator on day one" speech to really back that up. So people are scared. It is that shock and awe he wanted. Whether that means the Republicans that are in power in the Senate, who have to confirm these people, go along with the shock and awe, go along with someone who's under criminal investigation to be in charge of the Department of Justice, who is in charge of criminal investigations, is is sort of to be seen. That's pretty shock and awe. Health and Human Services, someone against vaccines. That's the very basis and fundamental institution in charge of things like vaccines. I mean, that is something where it's really putting, I like the word you used there, litmus test on the loyalty of some of these Republicans who are been Republicans for a long time and serving in Congress for a long time, of whether or not how far they will go to support him and stand by him in some of this stuff, because this is really testing their limits.
And Malik, let me give you the last word here. You know, to Taryn's point, do you agree that people are scared by these picks? I mean, he did just decisively win this election. Are people scared about these choices he's made?
I believe the only people afraid of these choices are the people who didn't vote for Donald Trump anyway. And I don't think a lot of these are really realistic. Even when you think of the vaccines, RFK isn't anti-vaccine. He is a vaccine skeptic. And you have to acknowledge that there are millions of people in this country who are. But it doesn't matter. As I've said on the show, I believe it was just the other day, it doesn't matter what RFK's position on the vaccine is. Donald Trump ushered in Operation Warp Speed to get us to a vaccine, the very vaccine that Kamala Harris told us not to trust. So there's no type of discrepancy. There's no issue. The HHS, they're not going to start banning vaccines. I think some of the things that RFK wants to do around our health and nutrition, I think that that's a good thing. And that's what he's going to focus on, as with the number of the appointments. I don't think that this gloom and doom scenario, which existed before Donald Trump was elected, will have the same thing when he's president of the United States. But at the end of the day, I don't expect us to have what comes out of a gloom and doom presidency.
I got to end it there, but Taryn Rosenkranz, Malik Abdul, thank you as always for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.